Good evening. Today you will be gently led through a journey among stars, among ancient lights and quiet secrets of the universe. There is no rush, there is no effort, just the invitation for you to breathe, close your eyes for a moment if you wish, and allow your mind to float towards the night sky. The stars have always been there, above you, above everyone who has ever lived. Silent witnesses to the passage of time, luminous points that cross the darkness with delicacy and constancy. They do not ask for attention, but offer presence. They do not demand understanding, but invite contemplation. You don't need to know their names, their distances, or their chemical compositions to feel that they are part of something bigger, something that also lives in you. Tonight, as the world around you quiets down, you will be taken through gentle facts, serene discoveries, and reflections that connect the vastness of the cosmos to the intimacy of your own breathing. Each star that shines in the sky is a story. Each light that reaches your eyes is a message sent long ago, traversing the void with infinite patience, waiting only for you to be ready to receive it. And you are. You are here, now, in this moment of calm, ready to let the immensity of the universe become, paradoxically, a space for gathering, for peace, for silence populated only by the soft glow of distant worlds. Take a deep breath. Relax your shoulders. Allow this journey to lead you, effortlessly, through constellations of knowledge and poetry, through science and enchantment, until you find, in the end, not just understanding, but rest. You open your eyes on a moonless night, and the sky reveals itself as an infinite tapestry of luminous points. Some shine brightly, others barely whisper their existence, timid and distant. You observe and feel an ancient curiosity awaken in you, the same one that ignited in human beings since they first raised their eyes towards the unknown. But this curiosity is not anxious. It is calm, almost sleepy, like someone leafing through the pages of an old book before bed. You realize that the night sky is not just darkness, it's an invitation. It is an open window to times you have never lived, to places you will never visit, to stories that began before the existence of the earth itself. And yet, somehow, these stories reach you, crossing billions of miles and millions of years, just to touch your retina with a delicate photon, a messenger of light that traveled without pause, without detour, until it found your eyes at this very moment. You breathe and understand, without words, that you are connected to the cosmos in ways that language cannot fully express. Every atom in your body was forged in the heart of a star that lived, shone, and transformed. You are, literally, made of stardust. And tonight, as you contemplate the sky, you are just returning the gaze to your origin. The stars you see do not exist in the present. This is one of the gentlest and most mysterious truths of the universe. When you look up and find the glow of Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky, you are seeing light that left its surface about 8.5 years ago. 8.5 years of uninterrupted travel through the void, crossing the empty, cold, and silent space, finding nothing but vacuum, until finally reaching the Earth's atmosphere and penetrating your pupil. The star you see is not the star that exists now. It's a memory of light, an old photograph printed in the sky. And when you direct your gaze to more distant stars, this temporal distance multiplies. Some of the lights you observe left their sources hundreds, thousands, even millions of years ago. You are, at this moment, looking into the past. You are witnessing events that have already happened, stars that may have already changed, that may have already expanded into red giants or collapsed into white dwarfs. Some of the stars you see may no longer exist, but their light continues to travel, faithful and constant, fulfilling the journey that began before you were born, before your parents were born, before human history even began. You breathe and feel a strange tranquility as you realize that the universe is not in a hurry. It allows light to travel in its own time, for messages to be delivered when they arrive, for the past and present to coexist in the same gaze. There is no urgency in the cosmos, just infinite patience. You close your eyes for a moment and imagine a single star. Not a specific star, but the essence of what a star is. A point of light in the darkness. Simple, perfect. But when you open your eyes again and allow science to gently illuminate your imagination, you discover that a star is not a point. It is a colossal sphere of incandescent gas, held in perfect equilibrium between two opposing forces. On one side, gravity pulls all stellar matter towards the center, trying to collapse the star into an infinitesimal point. On the other, the nuclear fusion occurring in the stellar core generates a colossal pressure, pushing outwards, resisting the collapse. These two forces find a delicate balance, a precise dance that allows the star to exist, to shine, to send light across the universe. This balance can last millions or billions of years. Some smaller stars, like red dwarfs, can shine for trillions of years, longer than the current age of the universe. They are modest, economical, burning their fuel so slowly that their lives extend beyond human comprehension. Other stars, massive and bright, consume their fuel voraciously, living intense but brief lives, some lasting only a few million years before exploding in spectacular supernovae. You realize that each star has its own rhythm, its own way of existing. There is no rush, no competition. Each one shines according to its nature, fulfilling its role in the silent symphony of the cosmos. And you, observing from here, feel that perhaps human life is not so different. Each person shines in their own time, with their own intensity, contributing their unique light to the tapestry of existence. The night advances, and you allow yourself to drift deeper into contemplation. You think about the color of the stars. Some shine with bluish hues, others yellowish, others orange or reddish. This difference is not accidental. It is a language, a way of communication that the universe uses to tell stories about temperature, age, and composition. Blue stars are the hottest, burning at temperatures exceeding 30,000 degrees Celsius on their surfaces. They are young, energetic, intense. Their light carries so much energy that it ionizes the hydrogen around them, creating bright nebulae where new stars will be born. Yellow stars, like the sun, are more moderate, with surface temperatures around 5,000 or 6,000 degrees. They are in stellar middle age, burning steadily, offering constant light for possible planets around them. Red stars are the coolest, the oldest, or the most modest. Some are red giants, stars that have already consumed most of their hydrogen and now swell to colossal sizes, shining with a soft orange light as they prepare for their final phases. Others are red dwarfs, small and efficient, that will never be giants, that will never explode, but that will continue to shine discreetly for countless eras. You breathe and feel gratitude for this diversity. The universe does not create just one type of star. It explores all possibilities, all colors, all intensities. And in doing so, it transforms the night sky into a palette of subtle tones, a painting that changes slowly over millennia, but that remains eternally beautiful. You lie down and look up, and your eyelids begin to weigh down gently. There is no effort in keeping them open, but there is also no urgency in closing them. You are in an intermediate state, suspended between wakefulness and sleep, and it is in this state that the deepest truths often reveal themselves. You think about the fact that, at this very moment, there are more stars in the observable universe than grains of sand on all the beaches of Earth. This statement, which might seem exaggerated, is actually an underestimation. It is estimated that there are about 200 billion trillion stars in the universe that we can observe. 200 billion trillion. A number so vast that it loses meaning when you try to understand it rationally. But you don't need to understand it. You just need to feel it. Each of these stars is a sun, potentially surrounded by planets, moons, comets, and asteroids. Each one shines in its own corner of the universe, invisible to you, unknown, but existing with the same reality that you exist. And somehow, despite this incomprehensible vastness, you are here. You are a consciousness that emerged on a small rocky planet orbiting a modest yellow star in a spiral arm of a galaxy among billions. And you have the ability to look up, to think about these stars, to feel awe. That in itself is a quiet miracle. You take a deep breath and the air enters your lungs with ease. You don't need to control your breathing. It happens naturally, just as the stars shine naturally, just as the universe exists naturally. Everything is in its place. Everything is as it should be. You let your mind wander to the concept of constellations. Since time immemorial, human beings have looked at the sky and seen patterns. They connected stars with imaginary lines, creating figures of animals, heroes, objects, and myths. Orion, the hunter, with his distinctive belt of 3 aligned stars. The Big Dipper, pointing to the North Star. The Southern Cross, guiding navigators in the Southern Hemisphere. These constellations don't physically exist. The stars that compose them aren't connected to each other. Some are separated by unimaginable distances, only appearing close from Earth's perspective. They don't form real groups in 3-dimensional space, but only in the 2-dimensional projection you see in the night sky. And yet, these imaginary constructs have become real in human culture. They guided navigators across oceans, they marked the passing of seasons for farmers. They inspired myths, legends, stories that have been told around campfires for thousands of generations. You realize that constellations are a bridge between the objective reality of the cosmos and the human need for meaning, for narrative, for connection. The universe didn't draw these figures in the sky, you drew them. Humanity drew them, projecting its own stories onto the infinite screen of space. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's something deeply beautiful about it. It shows that human beings, faced with incomprehensible vastness, don't freeze. They create, they interpret, they transform the unknown into something familiar, something comforting. You breathe and feel that, perhaps, this is a way of belonging to the universe, not just observing it passively, but participating actively, adding layers of meaning, of beauty, of humanity to the cold, mathematical structure of the cosmos. The night deepens, and you feel yourself being lulled by an invisible current of gentle thoughts. You think about the North Star, Polaris, the one that seems to stand still while all the others revolve around it. This star has been a beacon for navigators, a fixed point in a constantly moving sky. But the truth is that Polaris isn't really stationary. It only appears to be on the Earth's axis of rotation, so when the planet spins, it remains approximately in the same position relative to the northern horizon. It's an illusion of stability, but a useful, comforting illusion. And you realize that, on a human scale, many of the truths you hold are useful illusions. Time seems to flow linearly, but perhaps it's more complex. Reality seems solid, but it's composed mostly of empty space between subatomic particles. You seem to be a separate individual, but every atom in your body came from the universe and will return to it. These illusions aren't falsehoods, they're perspectives, ways of organizing experience in a way that allows you to live, to function, to find meaning. And the universe, generous and patient, allows you to maintain these perspectives without judgment. It remains what it is, regardless of how you interpret it. but it also opens itself to your interpretations, to your stories, to your searches for meaning. You breathe and feel grateful for this cosmic generosity. The universe doesn't demand that you understand it perfectly. It simply invites you to look, to marvel, to be present. You allow your consciousness to drift towards an astonishing and deeply reassuring fact. Stars produce light through a process called nuclear fusion. In the core of a star, where the temperature reaches millions of degrees and the pressure is unimaginable, hydrogen atoms are compressed against each other with such force that their nuclei fuse, forming helium. This process releases immense energy that propagates outwards in the form of light and heat. But this energy doesn't escape immediately. A photon born in the core of the sun, for example, can take between 10,000 and 170,000 years to finally reach the surface and be released into space. 10,000 years! During all this time, the photon ricochets through the dense interior of the star, being absorbed and re-emitted countless times, following a random path, a chaotic and unpredictable journey. Until finally, after millennia of internal wandering, it breaks through the surface and flies free through the vacuum. And then, just 8 minutes later, it reaches Earth, touches your skin, warms your face. You feel the warmth of the sun on your skin and realize that this light began its journey when humans were still painting in caves, when the first civilizations hadn't yet emerged, when human history was just a distant possibility. And now, finally, after an incomprehensible journey, this light finds you. It has no consciousness, no intention, but there's something almost affectionate in its persistence and its patient journey. You breathe and feel a deep connection with this ancient light, with this energy that has crossed eras and distances just to be here, now, in this moment with you. You turn your eyes to the Milky Way, that hazy band stretching across the sky on truly dark nights, far from the city lights. For centuries, humans have gazed at this band and created myths about it. Some said it was the path of souls, others that it was milk spilled by a goddess. But when Galileo pointed his rudimentary telescope at it, he discovered something even more marvelous. The Milky Way was not a mysterious nebulosity. It was composed of countless stars, so numerous and so distant that they merged into a diffuse luminosity. It was the side view of the very galaxy you inhabit. You are inside the Milky Way, and when you look at that band, you are looking towards the galactic disk, where the concentration of stars is greatest. It's like being inside a forest and looking at a part where the trees are denser. You are not outside observing, you are inside, an integral part of this colossal structure that contains between 200 and 400 billion stars. And this galaxy, in turn, is just one among trillions in the observable universe. Every point of light you see in the Milky Way is a distant sun, possibly with planets, possibly with moons, possibly with forms of complexity that you will never imagine. You breathe and feel a profound humility, not as something negative, but as something liberating. You don't need to be the center of the universe. You don't need to be the only consciousness, the only point of importance. You can be a small part of something immensely larger, and that is enough. In fact, that is more than enough. That is extraordinary. You close your eyes again and allow your mind to explore the concept of starlight. Some stars shine constantly, others pulsate, others vary their luminosity in complex and unpredictable ways. There are stars called Cephids, which expand and contract regularly, changing their brightness predictably over days or weeks. These stars have become cosmic rulers, tools that allow astronomers to measure distances in the universe. Because the relationship between the pulsation period of a Cephid and its intrinsic brightness is known, you can observe how long it takes for the star to complete a cycle And, comparing its apparent brightness with its actual brightness, calculate its distance. This discovery, made in the early 20th century, transformed human understanding of the universe. Suddenly, distances that were once just vague estimates became concrete numbers. The universe revealed itself to be much larger than anyone had imagined. And all because some stars pulsate with a constant rhythm, like cosmic hearts beating in the darkness. You breathe and feel a poetic beauty in this idea. Stars don't just shine, they communicate. They offer information, clues, secrets that humans have learned to decipher. The universe is not trying to hide its truths. It offers them generously, waiting only for you to learn the correct language to read them. And that language is not made of words. It is made of light, of frequencies, of patterns, of rhythms. It is a language that transcends cultures and species, a universal language that any civilization, anywhere in the cosmos, could learn if it developed the right tools and curiosity. You allow your mind to wander to a comforting thought. Somewhere in the universe, at this very moment, light from a distant star is beginning its journey towards Earth. This light will travel for hundreds, thousands, perhaps millions of years. It will cross the interstellar vacuum, pass through clouds of gas and dust, perhaps be slightly diverted by the gravity of massive objects, but will continue forward, always forward. And one day, long into the future, when you are no longer here, when entire civilizations have risen and fallen, when the Earth itself may have changed in unimaginable ways, that light will finally reach this planet. And someone, some conscious being, will look up and see it shine. And perhaps that being will marvel, just as you marvel now. Perhaps they will feel the same sense of connection, of belonging, of admired humility. Or perhaps not. Perhaps that light will go unnoticed, just another photon among trillions. But it will have completed its journey anyway. The universe demands no witnesses. It simply is. And there is something deeply liberating in that. You don't need to witness everything, understand everything, be present for everything. You can simply be here, now, witnessing what is possible to witness. And that is enough. It is more than enough. The night continues, and you feel that you are merging smoothly with it. The boundary between you and the sky becomes less defined. You think about nebulas, those cosmic clouds of gas and dust where new stars are born. They are stellar nurseries, regions where gravity slowly compresses clouds of hydrogen until the density and temperature become sufficient to initiate nuclear fusion. This process can take millions of years. It is slow, patient, inevitable. And when a star is finally born, it does not emerge alone. Frequently, hundreds or thousands of stars are born together, forming star clusters that slowly disperse over eons, each star following its own orbit through the galaxy. You breathe and think about births, about beginnings, about how everything that exists once arose from apparent nothingness. The most famous nebulae have poetic names. The Orion Nebula, visible to the naked eye as a hazy patch in Orion's sword, is one of the closest and most studied star-forming regions. The Eagle Nebula, with its famous pillars of creation, photographed by the Hubble Space Telescope, shows colossal columns of gas and dust where new stars are being born in cosmic real-time. These images have become icons, symbols of the universe's continuous creativity, of the way it constantly renews itself, constantly creates new structures, new possibilities. And you realize that the universe is not static. It is not a clock that has been wound up and is now only gradually slowing down. It is dynamic, creative, constantly bringing new suns into existence, constantly transforming the old into the new. And you, being part of this universe, also participate in this creativity. Every thought you have is something new. Every breath you take reorganizes atoms in ways that have never existed before. You are, on a small scale, as creative as the cosmos. You breathe more slowly now, and your body begins to relax layer by layer. You think about the death of stars, but not with sadness. Stellar death is not an end, it is a transformation. When a star of modest mass, like the Sun, consumes all the hydrogen in its core, it begins to fuse helium, expanding into a red giant. It may swell so much that it will swallow the inner planets, including, eventually, the Earth. But this is not an act of malicious destruction. It is simply nature taking its course. And when the star finally has no more fuel to burn, it will expel its outer layers, creating a planetary nebula of indescribable beauty, while its core collapses into a white dwarf, a dense object about the size of the Earth but with the mass of the Sun, which will shine faintly for trillions of years until it cools completely. More massive stars have more dramatic ends. When they exhaust their fuel, they collapse catastrophically and then explode in supernovas, events so bright that they can, for a brief moment, outshine the luminosity of an entire galaxy. And from this violent explosion, new elements are forged and scattered throughout interstellar space. The carbon in your muscles, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the oxygen you breathe at this moment, all were created inside stars and scattered through the universe when those stars died. You are, literally, made of the remnants of ancestral stars. You are a direct descendant of cosmic explosions that occurred billions of years before the Sun even existed. And there is something deeply comforting in that. You did not come from nothing. You came from the stars. And when you die, when your body returns to the Earth and the atoms that make it up disperse, they will continue to exist, continue to participate in the cosmic dance, perhaps one day being part of another life, another consciousness, another moment of wonder before the night sky. You allow yourself to drift to another smooth, fascinating fact. The closest star to you, excluding the Sun, is Proxima Centauri, located about 4.2 light-years away. A light-year is the distance that light travels in a year, approximately 9.5 trillion kilometers. Proxima Centauri is a red dwarf, small, faint, visible only with telescopes. It is part of a triple system with Alpha Centauri A and B, two brighter stars that orbit each other while Proxima orbits both at a great distance. Recently, astronomers discovered a planet orbiting Proxima Centauri in the habitable zone, the distance where liquid water could exist. This does not mean that there is life there, but it means that the possibility exists. And if there is life on Proxima Centauri b, it will be looking at a different sky than you are. It will see the Sun as a distant, faint star, perhaps without any special significance. And perhaps, on some alien night, under a faint red light, some conscious being will look up, see the Sun shining discreetly, and wonder if there is anyone there, if there is anyone looking back. You breathe and feel a wave of connection to that possibility. Cosmic loneliness may be illusory. The universe is vast. Furthermore, there are too many stars, too many planets for you to be the sole point of consciousness. And if there are others, if there are countless civilizations scattered across the galaxy, all looking at their own skies, all marveling at their own stars, then you are part of a cosmic community, even if you never come into direct contact with its members. You share with them the experience of existing, of contemplating, of seeking understanding, and that is already a profound form of connection. Allow your mind to rest on the concept of stellar magnitude, a scale astronomers use to measure the apparent brightness of stars. This scale is counterintuitive. The smaller the number, the brighter the star. Sirius, the brightest star, has an apparent magnitude of -1.46. The faintest stars visible to the naked eye have a magnitude of 6. Each magnitude increment represents a brightness difference of approximately 2.5 times. This scale was originally created over 2,000 years ago by the Greek astronomer Hipparchus, who classified visible stars into 6 categories, from first magnitude, the brightest, to sixth magnitude, the faintest visible. The modern scale maintains this basic structure, but has made it more precise and extended it to include much brighter and much fainter objects. You breathe and realize there is something enchanting about how human beings try to quantify the sky. They cannot reach the stars, cannot touch them, cannot travel to them, but they can measure them, classify them, give them names and numbers. It is a form of intimacy at a distance, a way to transform the inaccessible into something familiar, something that can be discussed, compared, understood. And while the magnitude scale may seem like just a technical tool, it represents something deeper, the human desire to organize experience, to find patterns, to create order out of apparent chaos. The night sky could be just a random field of luminous points, but for you, for humanity, it is a map, an atlas, an open book waiting to be read. The night advances, and you feel you are being gently led deeper into a state of contemplative relaxation. You think about binary stars, systems where 2 stars orbit a common center of mass. Approximately half of all stars exist in binary or multiple systems. This means that, for many stars, the concept of solitude does not exist. They spend their entire lives dancing with another star, influenced by the gravity of their companion, sometimes exchanging mass, sometimes getting so close that they almost touch. Some binaries are so close that they orbit each other in a matter of hours. Others are so far apart that they take thousands of years to complete an orbit. And there are even more complex systems, with 3, 4, even 7 stars orbiting in intricate and chaotic configurations. You breathe and imagine what it would be like to live on a planet orbiting a binary star. There would be 2 suns in the sky. Some days would have 2 sunrises, 2 sunsets. The shadows would be multiple, the seasons would be irregular, the experience of time would be fundamentally different. And yet, for a being that evolved in that environment, that would be normal. That would be what it means to be illuminated, to be warmed, to be guided by the skies. You realize that normal is always relative. What is familiar to you, a single sun, a single moon, a regular cycle of day and night, is just one configuration among infinite possibilities. The universe does not privilege your experience. It offers variety, diversity, countless ways of being, and each is equally valid, equally real, equally part of the cosmic tapestry. Allow your consciousness to drift to the giant stars, those colossi that defy imagination. Betelgeuse, the reddish star on Orion's shoulder, is a red supergiant with a diameter approximately 1,000 times larger than that of the Sun. If you placed it at the center of the solar system, its surface would extend beyond the orbit of Mars, swallowing Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars whole. And Betelgeuse isn't even the largest known star. UY Scuti, a red hypergiant located in the Scutum constellation, has an estimated radius of over 1,700 times the solar radius. If you tried to fly around UY Scuti at the speed of a commercial airliner, it would take over 1,000 years to complete one revolution. These stars are monsters in the most literal sense, but not in a threatening sense. They are merely extreme expressions of stellar possibilities. They burn with colossal intensity, but their densities are so low that you could, theoretically, fly through their outer layers without noticing. They are emptier than the most perfect terrestrial vacuum, vast collections of tenuous gas held together only by gravity. You breathe and feel a sense of scale that is simultaneously crushing and liberating. The universe is not built on your scale. It operates in dimensions that make you infinitesimally small. And that's not a flaw of yours. It's a characteristic of the cosmos. It is vast because it can be, and you are small because you can be. Both conditions are necessary, both are perfect in their own way. You close your eyes and allow a feeling of gratitude to spread through you. Gratitude for the stars that shine, even when you are not watching them. Gratitude for the light that travels patiently through the vacuum. Gratitude for the atoms that make up your body, forged in stellar furnaces. Gratitude for the consciousness that allows you to contemplate all this, that transforms photons into perception, into thought, into wonder. You didn't ask to exist, but you do. And at this moment, your existence intersects with the existence of billions of stars, creating a unique moment of witnessing, of presence, of connection. This gratitude demands no object. It doesn't need to be directed at anyone or anything. It can simply be, just as the stars simply are, just as the universe simply is. You breathe and feel that this gratitude is a form of participation, a way of saying yes to reality, of accepting the gift of existence without the need for justification or purpose beyond the very act of being here. You open your eyes again and direct your gaze to a specific point in the sky. There is nothing special about this point to the naked eye, but you know that powerful instruments, such as the Hubble Space Telescope, have been pointed at seemingly empty regions of the sky and discovered thousands of galaxies in what appeared to be pure darkness. One of the most famous images is the Hubble Deep Field, a long-exposure photograph of a small region of the sky, no larger than a grain of sand held at arm's length. In this tiny region, more than 3,000 galaxies have been identified. 3,000 galaxies in a fragment of the sky. And each of these galaxies contains billions of stars. You breathe and try to understand what this means. If you divided the entire sky into regions the size of that grain of sand, there would be millions of these regions. And if each contained thousands of galaxies, then the total number of galaxies in the observable universe would be hundreds of billions, perhaps trillions. And each galaxy contains billions or trillions of stars. The numbers become absurd, impossible to visualize. But you don't need to visualize. You just need to feel the immensity. Let it wash over you like a wave. Let it dissolve any illusion that you completely understand reality. You don't understand. No one understands. And that's perfectly acceptable. Mystery is not a flaw. It's a feature. And within that mystery, there is room for wonder, for humility, for peace. You allow your mind to return to the sun, that star that you know intimately without thinking about it. It rises every morning, crosses the sky, sets every afternoon. It is constant, reliable, familiar. But the sun is also a violent star. Its surface boils with convection of superheated plasma. Solar flares launch radiation and charged particles in all directions. Sunspots, regions where the magnetic field is particularly intense, appear and disappear in cycles of approximately 11 years. And the sun is constantly losing mass, emitting a solar wind that blows through the solar system, creating the tails of comets, causing auroras at the Earth's poles, shaping the magnetic environment of all the planets. The sun is not peaceful, but its violence is distant enough to be safe. And you, protected by the Earth's atmosphere and magnetic field, receive only the benefits: light, heat, energy that drives photosynthesis, which creates oxygen, which sustains the web of life of which you are a part. You breathe and realize that even violence can be beneficial when filtered by the right distance and protection. The universe is not safe. It was not designed for your comfort. But through an extraordinary combination of circumstances, the right distance from the sun, a planet of the right size, an atmosphere of the right composition, a protective magnetic field, you find yourself in a refuge, an oasis where life can flourish, where consciences can emerge and contemplate the stars that created them. The night continues,
and you feel that time is becoming less linear, less urgent. Past, present, and future begin to blend smoothly. You think about the future of the stars, not with anxiety, but with serene curiosity. Eventually, in trillions of years, when all the massive stars have exploded and all the moderate mass stars have become white dwarfs, when even the longest-lived red dwarfs have burned out, the universe will tend towards a state of maximum entropy, of thermal equilibrium, of cosmic monotony. But even this distant future is not a cause for despair. It is simply a transformation, a phase in the eternal cycle of creation and destruction. And even then, even in the cold and darkness of the far future, there may be surprises, unforeseen processes, quantum fluctuations that ignite new universes. The cosmos is fertile, inventive, unpredictable, and you, a fleeting spark of consciousness, are a part of that eternal dance. You breathe and feel a deep connection to the past, to the present, and to the future. You are made of star stuff, and you will return to the stars. Your consciousness is a momentary expression of the universe, and it will eventually dissolve back into the cosmic ocean. But this is not a loss, not an ending. It is a return to the source, a merging with the whole. And even in your absence, the universe will continue to contemplate itself through other eyes, through other minds, through other forms of life that will emerge and evolve over unimaginable spans of time. The universe does not need you to exist, but it allows you to exist. And your existence, however brief, is a gift, a miracle, a unique opportunity to witness and participate in the grand drama of cosmic evolution. The night sky remains unchanged, a canvas of infinite possibilities. You realize that you don't need to travel to distant galaxies to find wonder. It is already here, within you, all around you, in every breath you take, in every thought you have, in every connection you make. The universe is not something separate from you. It is you, and you are the universe, experiencing itself, contemplating itself, marveling at itself. You breathe one last time, deeply, fully, gratefully, and you let go. You allow yourself to dissolve into the night, to become one with the stars, to become one with the universe. You are home. Having consumed all its fuel, the universe will enter an age of darkness. There will be no more nuclear fusion. There will be no more new stars being born, because all the hydrogen will have been incorporated into dead stellar objects or dispersed so widely that gravity will not be able to gather it together again. This era is called the degenerate era, and it will last for timescales so vast that the current age of the universe will seem like the blink of an eye in comparison. But even in this era, there will be no complete silence. White dwarfs will emit faint radiation as they slowly cool. Black holes will evaporate through Hawking radiation, a process so slow that it will take longer than there are words to describe. And eventually, in a future so distant that it approaches infinity, even the black holes will evaporate, and the universe will become a dilute soup of subatomic particles, cold, dark, essentially dead. This scenario is called the heat death of the universe, and it may seem depressing. But you breathe and realize that this fate, if it is a fate, is so incredibly distant that is practically irrelevant to the present. And more importantly, even if the universe eventually cools, even if the stars eventually go out, they shone. You existed. Consciousness emerged. Beauty was experienced. The universe knew itself through you. And that cannot be undone. No matter what happens in the distant future, this moment, now, you contemplating the stars, has already happened. It is already inscribed in the causal structure of the universe, and in that sense, it is eternal.
You allow your mind to return to the auroras, those veils of light that dance in the polar skies when charged particles from the sun collide with the Earth's atmosphere. Northern lights in the north, southern lights in the south. They are green, red, bluish, purple, undulating like ethereal curtains, moving with a grace that seems almost conscious. But you know they are not conscious. They are just physics, just electrons exciting atoms of oxygen and nitrogen, which then release photons of specific colors as they return to their ground states. And yet, even being just physics, even being just particles following natural laws, they are indescribably beautiful. And you realize that this is one of the deepest truths of the universe. Beauty does not require intention. It does not require design. It emerges naturally when certain conditions meet. The auroras are beautiful because atoms emit light at specific frequencies when excited. The stars are beautiful because nuclear fusion creates specific patterns of radiation. The night sky is beautiful because the human perspective projects order onto the apparent chaos. And you are able to recognize this beauty because your brain has evolved structures that respond to patterns, symmetries, lights. Beauty is a meeting between objective reality and subjective perception, and both are necessary. The universe provides the phenomena. You provide the perception. And together, they create moments of awe that transcend both the physical and the mental. You breathe more deeply now, feeling the air fill your lungs completely, then slowly leaving. Each breath is a cycle, a small reflection of the larger cycles that govern the universe. Stars are born and die, galaxies form and collide. The universe itself may be cyclical, expanding and contracting in an eternal pattern, or it may be just one universe among infinite ones in an incomprehensible multiverse. You don't know. No one knows. But you breathe, and that is enough. You exist, and that is enough. You contemplate the stars, and that is more than enough. It's extraordinary. You think about how unlikely your existence is. The precise sequence of events that had to occur for you to be here, now, is so specific, so delicate, that it defies calculation. If the initial temperature of the universe had been slightly different, if the fundamental constants of physics had slightly altered values, if the cloud of gas that formed the sun had collapsed a little differently, if the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs had not struck the Earth, if your ancestors had not survived countless threats over millions of years of evolution, you would not be here. And yet, you are. Against all odds, against all improbabilities, you emerged. And now, you look at the stars and marvel. And perhaps this is the reason. If there is a reason. Perhaps the universe creates consciences so that it can contemplate itself, so that it can transform physics into poetry, mathematics into music, light into wonder. You let your eyes close partially, just enough so that the stars become blurred smudges of light. In this state, they lose individual definition and merge into a soft, luminous field. And you realize that this is another valid way to see the sky. Not focused, not analytical, just receptive. You're not trying to identify constellations, calculate distances, or memorize names. You're simply allowing the starlight to enter you, allowing photons that have traveled light years to touch your retina, trigger chemical reactions in your rods and cones, send electrical signals through the optic nerve to the visual cortex, where they are processed, interpreted, transformed into conscious experience. This process is so complex that it is still not completely understood by science. How do electrical signals become perception? How do firing neurons create the subjective experience of seeing light? These are mysteries, hard problems that are at the frontier of human knowledge. And you breathe and feel comfortable with this mystery. You don't need to fully understand how you see to enjoy the sight. You don't need to comprehend the neuroscience of perception to feel awe. Knowledge enriches the experience, but it doesn't replace it. And the direct, immediate experience of being here, seeing these lights, feeling this breeze, breathing this air, is primary. It's the foundation upon which all knowledge is built. The night progresses, and you feel like you are entering an altered state of consciousness, not through substances or effort, but simply through sustained contemplation. You think about pulsars, those rapidly rotating remnants of supernovas, emitting beams of radiation that sweep across space like cosmic lighthouses. Some pulsars rotate hundreds of times per second, objects the size of cities, but with masses greater than that of the sun, so dense that a teaspoon of their matter would weigh billions of tons. They are physics taken to the extreme, conditions so extreme that they defy intuition, that require general relativity and quantum mechanics to be understood. And yet, they exist. They are real. And some of them are so regular in their pulsations that they rival the best human atomic clocks in precision. You breathe and marvel at the order that emerges from chaos. A stellar explosion, an event of unimaginable violence, creates an object of perfect regularity. Gravitational collapse, which might seem like pure destruction, forges something so stable that it can mark time with near-perfect precision for millions of years. The universe wastes nothing. Even the death of a star creates something new, something useful, something beautiful in its own way. You allow your consciousness to wander to variable stars, those that change in brightness for various reasons. Some are eclipsing binary systems, where one star periodically passes in front of the other, blocking its light. Others are pulsating, expanding and contracting rhythmically. Others are eruptive, having occasional bursts of increased brightness. And others are cataclysmic, experiencing dramatic events like mass transfer from a companion star. Each type of variable tells a different story, offers different insights into stellar physics, stellar evolution, the dynamics of multiple systems. And astronomers, both professionals and amateurs, dedicate countless hours observing these stars, recording their light curves, looking for patterns, testing theories. You breathe and feel a connection with these observers, with their patience, with their dedication. They spend cold nights looking through telescopes, recording data that may not reveal anything new, or that may revolutionize the understanding of some phenomenon. They do this not for glory or wealth, but out of curiosity, out of love of knowledge, out of a desire to understand. And in their efforts, they perpetuate an ancient tradition, a tradition that dates back to the first human beings who looked up and wondered. You are part of this tradition. Every time you look at the night sky with curiosity, you join an unbroken lineage of observers that stretches across millennia and cultures. You feel your body becoming heavier, more relaxed, as if gravity is gently pulling you down to the earth. And you allow it. You don't resist. You surrender to this sensation, allowing the muscles to relax, the tension to dissolve, the weight of the day to dissipate. And while your body rests, your mind continues to float among the stars, exploring, contemplating, connecting. You think about brown dwarfs, objects that are too large to be planets, but too small to be stars. They formed like stars, collapsing from clouds of gas, but they did not accumulate enough mass to initiate sustained hydrogen fusion. They shine faintly with the heat of their formation, slowly cooling over billions of years, intermediate objects that don't fit neatly into any category. And you realize that the universe doesn't care about human categories. It creates what the conditions allow. They allow you to create. And if that results in objects that defy easy classification, it only shows the richness, the variety, the creativity of nature. You breathe and feel that maybe you don't fit perfectly into categories either. Maybe you are unique, a specific combination of characteristics that has never existed before and will never exist again. And that's not a problem. It's a celebration of uniqueness, of individuality,
of cosmic diversity. The night deepens, and you allow yourself to drift closer to sleep, but without completely crossing the border. You are suspended in that liminal state where thoughts become more fluid, more imaginative, more poetic. You think about exoplanets, those worlds that orbit stars that are not the sun. Just a few decades ago, the existence of planets around other stars was just speculation. Now, thousands have been discovered, and it is estimated that virtually every star has at least one planet. This means that there are hundreds of billions of planets in our galaxy alone. Worlds of ice, worlds of gas, rocky worlds, oceanic worlds, lava worlds. Some orbit so close to their stars that a year lasts only a few Earth hours. Others are so far away that a year lasts thousands of Earth years. Some are small like Mercury, others giants like Jupiter, others completely different from any planet in the solar system. And somewhere, statistically speaking, among this immense diversity, there must be worlds where life has emerged, where consciousness has developed, where civilizations contemplate their own skies and wonder if they are alone. You breathe and feel a wave of cosmic empathy. If there are other conscious beings, they probably experience many of the same emotions as you: curiosity about the universe, wonder at beauty, questions about meaning and purpose, fear of death, desire for connection, search for understanding. These may be universal, not limited to human biology, but emerging naturally whenever complex consciousness arises. And if so, then you have cosmic siblings, even if you never meet them, even if their existences remain forever separated by the vastness of space. You share the fundamental experience of being conscious in a universe that does not require consciousness, of contemplating a cosmos that was not made to be contemplated, but that reveals itself to be extraordinarily worthy of contemplation. You allow your attention to return to your own body for a moment. You feel the weight of your head against the pillow, the slow and regular rhythm of your breathing, the calm pulse that pumps blood through your veins. This body, this incredibly complex biological machine, is built of stardust. Each heartbeat moves iron that was forged in a supernova. Every thought that crosses your mind uses carbon that was once part of another star. You are a temporary organization of cosmic matter, a form that emerged from chaos, persists for a few decades, and then dissolves back into natural processes, releasing its atoms for new adventures, new configurations, new possibilities. And there is no sadness in that. There is only the natural cycle of transformation that governs everything in the universe. You breathe and accept this impermanence. You don't need to last forever. You just need to be here now, fully present, fully aware, fully alive. And in this moment, you are. You are feeling, thinking, wondering. And that is enough. It's more than enough. It's everything. You turn your attention to the sky and think about the zodiacal light, that faint glow that can sometimes be seen on the western horizon after sunset or on the eastern horizon before sunrise. It is sunlight reflected by interplanetary dust, microscopic particles that orbit the sun in the same plane as the planets. This dust is a remnant of the formation of the solar system, particles that never aggregated into planets, that remain suspended in the void, spinning eternally. And when sunlight hits these particles, they glow softly, creating a diffuse luminosity that few notice, but that is always there. You breathe and think about all the things that are always there, but that you rarely notice. The light of the stars during the day, obscured by the brightness of the sun, but still arriving. The Earth's magnetic field, invisible but constantly protecting you from solar radiation. The neutrinos that pass through your body every second. Particles so shy that they rarely interact with matter, but that carry information about the interior of the sun. The universe is full of subtle phenomena, invisible processes, imperceptible presences.
And you are part of it all, immersed in a web of physical interactions that extend from the microscopic to the cosmic, from the instantaneous to the eternal. The night continues, and you feel that you're falling, drifting from a state of deep peace. You think about star clusters, both open and globular. Open clusters are groups of young stars, hundreds or thousands, that were born together and still remain relatively close. The Pleiades are the most famous example, visible to the naked eye as a small group of bluish stars. Globular clusters are dense spheres of hundreds of thousands or even millions of old stars, orbiting the galaxy as satellites. They are relics of the distant past, formed when the Milky Way was still coalescing, and their stars are some of the oldest in the universe. If you could stand at the center of a globular cluster, the night sky would be spectacular. Thousands of stars would shine with intensity, so close to each other that the night would be almost as bright as day. There would be no real darkness, just a perpetual twilight created by countless suns. You breathe and imagine what it would be like to live in such an environment. How would it change your perception of loneliness, of distance, of isolation? How would it affect mythologies, philosophies, understandings of place in the cosmos? You realize that the local astronomical configuration profoundly shapes conscious experience, and you feel gratitude for your own configuration, a sky that alternates between light and darkness, between day and night, offering both illumination and mystery, both warmth and cooling, both presence and absence. You allow your thoughts to become more scattered, more dreamy. You think about the stars that carry names, thousands of them named over centuries by different cultures: Betelgeuse, Rigel, Aldebaran, Antares, Vega, Deneb, Altair, Arabic, Greek, Latin names, each carrying meaning, history, cultural connection. But most stars have no names. They have catalog designations, sequences of letters and numbers that identify their position and characteristics. HD 189733, Kepler 452, Gliese 581. They are not poetic names, but they are functional, allowing astronomers to communicate precisely which star they are discussing. And you breathe and realize that there is room for both, for poetry and for precision, for myths and for mathematics, for names that evoke feeling and for codes that facilitate scientific communication. The universe is large enough to accommodate all approaches, all perspectives, all methods of understanding. There is not just one correct way to know the stars. You can know them through stories, through measurements, through silent contemplation, through spectroscopic analysis. Each approach reveals different aspects, different truths, different beauties. You feel your eyelids getting heavier, but you don't fight it. You allow the natural weight of weariness to settle in, knowing that sleep will come when it comes, that there is no rush. And as you wait on this threshold, you think about the Fermi paradox, the question of why, if the universe is so vast and contains so many stars and planets, there is no obvious evidence of other intelligent civilizations. Where is everyone? The question has many possible answers. Maybe intelligent life is extremely rare. Maybe civilizations self-destruct before they develop interstellar travel. Maybe space is simply too large, the distances too vast for encounters to be likely. Maybe advanced civilizations lose interest in physical expansion and turn inward, exploring virtual realities or dimensions you cannot imagine. Maybe they are out there, but you are not looking correctly, or they are not communicating in ways you would recognize. Or maybe you are, in fact, alone. Maybe human consciousness is a unique phenomenon, an improbable accident that occurred only once in the history of the universe. You breathe and realize that you don't know which answer is true. And you also realize that, in a way, it doesn't matter. Whether you are part of a cosmic community of consciousnesses or a singular point of perception in an empty universe, the present moment remains the same. You still exist,
You still contemplate. You still feel wonder. And that experience is valid, meaningful, beautiful, regardless of how many others share it. You let your eyes close completely now, but the image of the stars persists in your mind. You see them in the inner darkness of your eyelids, points of light that float and drift, creating patterns, dissolving, reforming. And you think about how human vision is active, not passive. Your brain doesn't simply record what the eyes see. It interprets, fills in gaps, creates continuity where there are only fragments. When you look at a star, you are really seeing a series of snapshots created by neurons firing in specific patterns. And your brain stitches these snapshots into a continuous narrative, an experience of seeing a star that shines constantly. But the star isn't constant. It twinkles because of the turbulent atmosphere. And the light you see is made up of individual photons, arriving at random intervals, but your brain smooths them into a continuous glow. You breathe and marvel at the brain's ability to create order, to find patterns, to build coherent realities from fragmented data. This ability is what allows not only vision, but also understanding, narrative, meaning. Your brain is a meaning-making machine, constantly working to transform sensory chaos into comprehensible experiences. And now, as you drift toward sleep, this machine begins to slow down, to loosen its grip on linearity and logic, allowing thoughts to become more fluid, more dreamlike, more free. You float in a gentle darkness, and fragments of thoughts move through your awareness like shooting stars. You think about how the universe began, about the Big Bang, that primordial explosion that started space, time, matter, energy. 13.8 billion years ago, everything that exists was compressed into a point of infinite density and temperature. And then, for reasons no one fully understands, that point began to expand. And it continues to expand to this day, the space between galaxies constantly growing, carrying them away from each other. In a few billion years, distant galaxies will be receding so quickly that their light will never reach Earth again. The observable universe will shrink, not because it's actually shrinking, but because the expansion will be moving distant objects beyond the ability of light to traverse expanding space. Future civilizations will look up and see only their own galaxy, isolated in a sea of darkness, and perhaps conclude that they are alone in the universe. They won't know that billions of other galaxies exist just beyond their observable horizon. You breathe and feel a gentle sadness for these future consciousnesses, but also a gratitude for living in this specific era when the universe still reveals its vastness, when distant galaxies are still visible, when cosmic history can still be read in the lights that traverse space. You are here at the right moment to witness the grandeur of the cosmos. And that is a gift you didn't ask for, but received nonetheless. You feel yourself sinking deeper into relaxation, as if you are descending slowly through layers of consciousness, each one quieter than the last. And as you descend, you think about dark matter, that mysterious substance that makes up roughly 85% of all the matter in the universe. It doesn't emit light, doesn't absorb light, doesn't interact with light in any way. You can't see it, touch it, detect it directly. But you know it exists because its gravitational effects are undeniable. Galaxies rotate faster than they should if they contained only visible matter. Clusters of galaxies are held together by gravity that can't be explained by the visible stars alone. And the light from distant galaxies is bent as it passes through massive concentrations of something invisible. Dark matter is everywhere, permeating the universe, forming colossal structures on which normal matter, stars, planets, you, is just surface decoration. And you breathe and feel comfortable with this mystery. The universe isn't obligated to reveal all its secrets. It can hold regions of ignorance, zones where human understanding hasn't yet reached and perhaps never will fully reach. And that doesn't diminish what you do know. It just adds depth, layers, additional dimensions of wonder. You float through thoughts about dark energy, even more mysterious than dark matter.
It's not a substance, but a property of space itself, a force that is accelerating the expansion of the universe. Discovered only in the late 90s, it accounts for roughly 68% of all the energy in the universe, and nobody really knows what it is. Some theories suggest it's an intrinsic property of the quantum vacuum. Others propose exotic energy fields. Still others question whether gravity behaves differently at cosmological scales. You breathe and realize that even the most brilliant physicists, with the most sophisticated tools, are still navigating in the dark, making educated guesses, testing hypotheses, building models that might approximate the truth but never fully capture it. And there's something humbly beautiful in that. Human intelligence, as impressive as it is still limited, still learning, still discovering. And perhaps that is the permanent condition. Perhaps the universe is infinitely deep entity, always offering new mysteries beyond those that have been solved, keeping the search alive, keeping curiosity ignited, ensuring that there is never a final point, a moment of total and definitive understanding. You allow yourself to slide deeper, and now thoughts arrive more slowly, more spaced out, like stars in a less dense region of the galaxy. You think about how stars have influenced human culture throughout recorded history. Navigators used stars to cross oceans, keeping their ships on course when there were no other references. Farmers used stars to mark the seasons, knowing when to plant and when to harvest, based on the position of certain constellations. Poets used stars as metaphors for unattainable love, for distant dreams, for hope that persists even in the darkness. Philosophers used stars to ponder humanity's place in the cosmos, the nature of existence, the relationship between the ephemeral and the eternal. And you, at this moment, are continuing this tradition, using stars as starting points for contemplation, as anchors for reflection, as mirrors in which you see reflected your own questions about meaning, purpose, connection. The stars haven't changed much in thousands of years. They are approximately in the same relative positions they were when the ancient Mesopotamians first cataloged them. But the way you understand them has changed dramatically, and it will continue to change. And the stars, indifferent but generous, will continue to shine, offering light for both ignorance and knowledge, for both myth and science, for both poetry and physics. You breathe slowly, deeply, and feel that each exhale releases a little more tension, a little more worry, a little more need for control. You think about neutron stars, those extraordinary objects that remain after supernovas of massive stars. They are so dense that a piece the size of a sugar cube would weigh billions of tons. The gravity on their surface is so intense that it distorts space-time around them, causing light to bend in extreme ways. If you could stand on the surface of a neutron star, which is impossible because the gravity would crush you instantly, you would see the light from the surface itself being bent around the horizon, allowing you to see parts of the other side of the star. Space-time would be so warped that the normal rules of geometry would no longer apply, and matter itself would be in a state called neutron degenerate matter, where protons and electrons have been squeezed together to form neutrons, packed so densely that they touch each other, with no empty space between them. It is nuclear matter, essentially a giant atomic nucleus the size of a city. You breathe and marvel at the extremes that nature can achieve, at the absurd conditions that exist not as abstract mathematical concepts, but as physical realities somewhere in the universe. And you realize that your own existence, here on the surface of a temperate planet orbiting a stable star,
is an oasis of moderation, a haven of mild conditions in a cosmos of extremes. You let your mind wander to supernovas, those colossal explosions that mark the end of massive stars. When a star at least 8 times the mass of the Sun exhausts its nuclear fuel, its core collapses catastrophically in a fraction of a second. The outer layer of the star then falls toward the collapsing core, rebounding in an explosive shockwave that completely destroys the star, launching its material through interstellar space at speeds that can reach a significant fraction of the speed of light. For a few weeks, a supernova can shine as brightly as an entire galaxy, and in this violent process, heavy elements are created. The gold in someone's ring, the silver in electronic circuits, the lead in batteries, the uranium in nuclear power plants, all were forged in supernova and scattered through the cosmos. You are composed primarily of light elements such as hydrogen, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, which can be created in ordinary stars.
But the trace amounts of heavier elements in your body, the iron in your hemoglobin, the zinc in your enzymes, the copper that helps regulate neuronal processes, all came from stellar explosions. You carry within you fragments of cosmic catastrophes, and there is something simultaneously violent and poetic in that. Destruction creates possibility. The end of a star provides the ingredients for planets, for life, for consciousness. You breathe and feel gratitude for this ancestral violence, for these explosions that you will never witness, but whose consequences live in every cell of your body. You feel you are too close. Drásticamente rápidos para la perspectiva humana.
O Sol, uma estrela que parece imutável, está constantemente fundindo hidrogênio em hélio, um processo que continuará por bilhões de anos até que ele eventualmente se expanda em uma gigante vermelha, engolindo Mercúrio e Vênus, talvez a Terra também. E então, depois de uma fase instável, ele lançará suas camadas externas para o espaço, formando uma nebulosa planetária, e se tornará uma anã branca, um remanescente denso e quente que gradualmente esfriará e desaparecerá ao longo de trilhões de anos. E mesmo isso é apenas um piscar de olhos na escala de tempo cósmica, onde galáxias colidem e se fundem, onde buracos negros crescem e evaporam, onde o próprio universo se expande e evolui, seguindo leis que parecem imutáveis, mas que podem ser apenas uma aproximação da realidade fundamental.
Você respira e se sente pequeno, insignificante, mas também parte de algo incrivelmente vasto e antigo. Uma tapeçaria cósmica de espaço e tempo que se estende para além da compreensão humana. I'm Sleep Now, navegando aquela hazy zona onde conscientes pensamentos beginam to mingle with proto-dreams, com imagens que não follow linear lógica, mas flowing according to emotional and sensory associations. Você pensa o que seria ver uma supernova com o naked eye. A última supernova visível sem um telescópio no Milky Way ocorreu em 1604, observada por Johannes Kepler. Before that, there was one em 1572, estudada por Tycho Brahe. E before that, centuries de ausência.
Galactic supernovas are rare events from a human perspective, occurring perhaps once or twice a century in a typical galaxy. But when they occur, they are spectacular. A star that was invisible suddenly becomes one of the brightest objects in the night sky, rivaling the planets, sometimes visible even during the day. And then, over weeks or months, it gradually fades, returning to invisibility, leaving behind only an expanding remnant and memories recorded in ancient texts. You breathe and imagine the awe, the fear perhaps, that ancient observers must have felt upon seeing a new star appear where there was nothing before. Without scientific understanding, they must have interpreted it as an omen, as a divine sign, as an event charged with supernatural meaning. And you realize they weren't completely wrong. It was a significant event,
just not in the way they thought. It wasn't a message from gods, but it was a cosmic transformation of fundamental importance. A moment when the universe demonstrated its capacity for dramatic change, for creation through destruction. You float now in soft darkness, and your breathing is so slow, so regular that you barely notice it. It's as if your body is breathing you, as if the process has become completely autonomous, freeing you to drift deeper into peace. And in this state, you think about black holes, those objects that have captured human imagination so intensely. Black holes are regions of space-time where gravity is so strong that nothing can escape, not even light. They are formed when very massive stars collapse, or when neutron stars accumulate too much mass, or when matter is compressed to impossible densities at the center of galaxies. They have boundaries called event horizons, beyond which no information can return to the external universe. What happens inside a black hole remains forever hidden, protected by a fundamental barrier of physics. And you breathe and realize that black holes are the ultimate mystery, regions of the universe that are definitively inaccessible to direct observation. You can study their effects, measure their mass and rotation, observe how they bend light and accelerate matter around them. But you can never see beyond the event horizon. They are guaranteed mysteries, permanent secrets that the universe keeps to itself. And perhaps that is appropriate. Perhaps the cosmos should have some regions that remain beyond understanding, some places where curiosity meets an absolute limit, not for lack of effort or technology, but by fundamental physical necessity. You let your thoughts become even more diffuse, fragments of ideas that appear and disappear like stars behind moving clouds. You think about Olber's paradox, that ancient question about why the night sky is dark. If the universe were infinite, eternal, and uniformly filled with stars, then every line of sight would eventually encounter a star, and the entire sky should be as bright as the surface of a star. But the sky is dark. The resolution of this paradox involves understanding that the universe is not infinitely old, that it began a finite time ago. So there is a limit to how far you can see, because the light from more distant stars has not yet had time to arrive. And the universe is expanding, so very distant stars are moving away so rapidly that their light is shifted to infrared wavelengths, invisible to the human eye. The darkness of the night sky is evidence of the finite age and expansion of the universe. It's a cosmological clue hidden in the most common experience, something everyone has seen thousands of times without realizing what it means. You breathe and feel awe at the way the universe hides profound secrets in obvious observations, at the way fundamental truths are there, waiting to be deciphered by minds curious enough to ask the right questions. You feel that you are dissolving gently, that the boundaries between you and the rest of the universe are becoming less distinct, not in a frightening way, but in a comforting way, as if you were returning to something larger, something that has always been your home. You think about the cosmic timescale, about how events that take billions of years to occur are instantaneously rapid from a human perspective. The sun, a star that seems unchanging, is constantly fusing hydrogen into helium, a process that will continue for billions of years until it eventually expands into a red giant, engulfing Mercury and Venus, perhaps Earth as well. And then, after an unstable phase, it will cast off its outer layers into space, forming a planetary nebula, and become a white dwarf, a dense and hot remnant that will gradually cool and fade over trillions of years. And even that is just a blink of an eye on the cosmic timescale, where galaxies collide and merge, where black holes grow and evaporate, where the universe itself expands and evolves, following laws that seem immutable, but which may be just an approximation of fundamental reality. You breathe and feel small, insignificant, but also part of something incredibly vast and ancient, a cosmic tapestry of space and time that stretches beyond human understanding. Calmamente, e as estrelas continuam brilhando acima. Elas brilham para todos, não importa quem sejam ou onde estejam. Elas brilham para os ricos e os pobres, os jovens e os velhos, os sábios e os tolos. Elas não se importam com a sua raça, religião ou orientação sexual. Elas apenas brilham. E talvez isso seja tudo o que precisamos. Talvez precisemos apenas lembrar que somos todos parte de algo maior, algo que está além da nossa compreensão. Talvez precisemos apenas lembrar que somos todos feitos de poeira estelar e que voltaremos ao pó um dia. Mas até que esse dia chegue, temos a oportunidade de brilhar também. Temos a oportunidade de amar, rir, aprender e crescer. Temos a oportunidade de fazer a diferença no mundo, não importa quão pequena seja. Então, da próxima vez que você olhar para as estrelas, lembre-se de que você não está sozinho. Você faz parte de uma história que começou há bilhões de anos e que continuará por bilhões de anos ainda. E você, com sua breve e preciosa vida, tem a oportunidade de adicionar seu próprio capítulo a essa história. Não desperdice essa oportunidade. Brilhe brilhantemente. Fleeting in the perspective of the universe, your own life, which seems so long when you're living day after day, is less than a cosmic blink. And yet, there's no inferiority in that. Durations don't determine value. A moment of full awareness, a second of true presence, contains as much richness as eras of unconscious existence. You breathe and realize that you are living one of those moments now, an instant of deep connection with the cosmos, of understanding that transcends words, of peace that doesn't depend on external circumstances, but emerges from the simple acceptance of what is. The stars shine. You exist. Both facts are miraculous, and no amount of scientific explanation diminishes that miracle. Understanding physics doesn't make the stars less beautiful. Understanding neuroscience doesn't make consciousness less admirable. Knowledge and wonder are not opposites. They are partners, each enriching the other, each offering different ways to appreciate the extraordinary improbability of reality. You're on the threshold now, almost asleep, but still tenuously aware. And in this liminal state, you think about all the human civilizations that have looked at the same stars you see now. Ancient peoples who didn't know about nuclear fusion or light years, but who recognized the same patterns, told the same stories about warriors and animals projected onto the sky. And you think about all the future civilizations that will look up and see slightly different stars because they move slowly through the galaxy, because the constellations change over tens of thousands of years. Within 50,000 years, the constellations you know will be unrecognizable. Orion will no longer resemble a hunter. The Big Dipper will no longer point to Polaris. The sky will slowly, patiently reconfigure itself, creating new patterns for new minds to interpret. And you breathe and feel a deep continuity through time, a current that connects past, present, and future through the simple act of looking up, of wondering, of seeking understanding. You are part of that current. You are participating in a tradition that is older than writing, older than agriculture, older than the human species itself. Ever since there have been eyes to see and minds to question, conscious beings have looked at the night sky and marveled. And you, now, continue that tradition. Add your moment of wonder to the sum total of all the moments of wonder that have already occurred and that are yet to occur. You feel that you're finally crossing the border, gliding smoothly into true sleep. And as you glide, final images float through your consciousness. You see stars being born in colorful nebulae. You see spiral galaxies spinning majestically through eons. You see light traversing the void, patient and constant, fulfilling journeys that began before you existed. You see the very fabric of space-time, curving and rippling around colossal masses, creating the invisible architecture that sustains all visible reality. And you see yourself, small but present, aware but humble, part of all this and separate from all this at the same time. You are a point of perspective, a place where the universe has become aware of itself, where stardust atoms have organized themselves in such a way that they can contemplate their own origins. You breathe one last time consciously, and then your consciousness dissolves smoothly into the unconsciousness of sleep, but something persists, a sense of connection, an understanding that you are part of something immensely larger, something that existed before you and will exist after you, something that doesn't require your participation but is enriched by it. And the stars keep shining. They always keep shining. Through your sleep, through your life, through all the lives that have ever been lived and that are yet to be lived. They shine when observed and when unobserved.
They shine with generous indifference, asking for nothing in return, demanding neither recognition nor gratitude. They simply are. And in this simple being, in this effortless existing, they offer a model, a way of being that is perhaps worth aspiring to. To be without needing external validation, to shine not because someone is watching, but because shining is your nature. To exist fully, without reservations, without apologies, without fear that your light is not enough. You shine because you exist, and existing is enough. The stars know this, even without consciousness. And perhaps, as you sleep and dream, some deep part of you also knows this. Some wisdom that lives beneath conscious thought. Some knowledge that doesn't need words because it predates language. Because it is fundamental to the very structure of being a conscious being in a universe that did not promise consciousness, but created it nonetheless. You sleep now, deeply, and the stars keep shining above. They shine for everyone, no matter who they are or where they are. They shine for the rich and the poor, the young and the old, the wise and the foolish. They don't care about your race, religion, or sexual orientation. They just shine. And maybe that's all we need. Maybe we just need to remember that we are all part of something bigger, something that is beyond our comprehension. Maybe we just need to remember that we are all made of stardust and that we will return to dust one day. But until that day comes, we have the opportunity to shine too. We have the opportunity to love, laugh, learn, and grow. We have the opportunity to make a difference in the world, no matter how small. So, the next time you look at the stars, remember that you are not alone. You are part of a story that began billions of years ago, and that will continue for billions of years to come. And you, with your brief and precious life, have the opportunity to add your own chapter to that story. Don't waste that opportunity. Shine brightly. And as you sleep, your body performs millions of tiny processes. Cells repair themselves, memories are consolidated, toxins are removed. Your heart continues to beat with its steady rhythm, pumping blood through miles of blood vessels. Your lungs continue to expand and contract, bringing in oxygen and expelling carbon dioxide. Your brain continues to be active, generating waves of electrical activity that move through the cortex in complex patterns that are not yet fully understood. And out there, through the window, beyond the walls, beyond the atmosphere, the stars continue their slow dance through the ages. Some are being born at this very moment, condensing from clouds of gas and dust, igniting their nuclear furnaces for the first time. Others are dying, expanding into red giants or collapsing into white dwarfs, or exploding in supernovas. And most are simply existing, shining with stability, offering light and warmth to possible planets, maintaining the delicate balance between gravity and pressure that defines stellar life.
And all of this activity happens effortlessly, without intention, without purpose, beyond the very act of existing. The universe is not trying to achieve a goal. It is not progressing toward a final destination. It is simply unfolding according to the laws of physics, exploring all the possibilities that those laws allow, creating a variety so vast that the human mind cannot fully comprehend it. And within this incomprehensible vastness, on a small planet orbiting a modest yellow star in a spiral galaxy among billions, you sleep and dream. And your dreams, if you could remember them upon waking, might be filled with images of light and darkness, of bright points floating through the void, of sensations of flight through infinite spaces. Or perhaps they are ordinary dreams about daily experiences, about people you know, about mundane worries that seem important on the human scale but insignificant on the cosmic scale. It doesn't matter. Both types of dreams are equally valuable, equally real in the economy of conscious experience. And when you wake up, whether in hours or in minutes, you will return to the world of wakefulness, to the world of sunlight and familiar sounds, to the world where you have responsibilities and relationships and tasks to fulfill. And perhaps you will not remember this journey through the stars. Perhaps it will dissolve into the fog of forgetfulness that covers most experiences. But something will remain. Some subtle trace, some microscopic change in the way you relate to the night sky, to the vastness of the cosmos, to your own place in this infinite tapestry. And perhaps the next time you look up and see stars, there will be a moment of recognition, a sense of connection, a recollection not of specific facts, but of feeling, of having been here before, of having contemplated these lights and found peace in them. The night advances toward dawn. Somewhere on the opposite hemisphere of the planet, the sun is already rising, bringing light to people who are starting their days as you finish yours. And the stars, which were visible during the night, gradually disappear as the sky lightens, not because they have ceased to exist, but simply because the brightness of the sun obscures them. They are still there. They have always been there. They will always be there, shining tirelessly even when invisible. And there is a lesson in this, a lesson about permanence, about how some things persist regardless of being observed, about how reality does not depend on witnesses to exist. The stars do not need you, but you need the stars, not in the physical sense, although you are literally made of them, but in the psychological, spiritual, emotional sense. You need them as symbols of continuity, of transcendence, of beauty that exists beyond the human scale. You need them to remember that there are things bigger than your immediate concerns, that there are perspectives from which your problems become invisible, that there is a vastness that contextualizes and relativizes everything. And as you sleep, as the planet slowly rotates beneath you, carrying you towards a new day, the universe continues its eternal work of being. Galaxies collide in slow-motion cosmic ballet, taking millions of years to merge. Stars explode in flashes of light that are witnessed by telescopes or go unnoticed because there is no one looking in that direction at that moment. Planets orbit their suns with mechanical precision. Moons create tides in alien oceans. And on countless worlds, perhaps, other life forms are doing their own versions of what you are doing now. Resting, sleeping, allowing consciousnesses to recharge to face new experiences, new challenges, new opportunities, and being present in a universe that didn't promise meaning, but seems to be filled with it nonetheless. Or perhaps you are alone. Perhaps in all the vast cosmos, you are the only point of consciousness contemplating stars at this specific moment. And if so, then you are incredibly special, incredibly valuable, carrying within you the only flame of conscious perception in a universe of unconscious processes. Or perhaps there are trillions of other consciousnesses scattered throughout galaxies, each feeling alone, each looking at their own sky and wondering if there is anyone else out there. And if so, then you are part of a cosmic community of shared solitude, all separated by space but united by the common experience of existing, of marveling, of seeking understanding in a universe that offers no easy answers, but rewards sincere questions with discoveries that exceed expectations. You breathe slowly in your sleep, your chest rising and falling with tranquil rhythm, and with each breath, you exchange atoms with the world around you. The oxygen you inhale was produced by plants through photosynthesis, a process that converts sunlight into chemical energy. This sunlight is composed of photons that began their journey in the core of the sun 10,000 years ago or more, passed through dense layers of stellar plasma, finally escaped into space, traveled 8 minutes through the vacuum, penetrated the Earth's atmosphere, were captured by chlorophyll in green leaves, and participated in chemical reactions that released oxygen as a byproduct. And now that oxygen enters your lungs, is absorbed into your bloodstream, is transported to cells throughout your body, participates in cellular respiration that provides energy for every biological process that keeps you alive. And when you exhale, you release carbon dioxide that will be absorbed by plants, closing the cycle. You are not separate from the universe. You are a temporary node in an infinite network of transformations, a transient pattern in a continuous flow of matter and energy. And when you die, when this specific pattern dissolves, the atoms that compose you will continue, will participate in new patterns. Perhaps one day will be part of other lives, other consciousnesses, other experiences of wonder before the cosmos. The darkness of sleep is deep now, with no memorable dreams, just pure rest. And in this darkness, there is peace. A peace that does not come from solving problems or achieving goals, but from the simple absence of effort, from the permission to simply be without doing, to exist without producing, to rest without guilt. This is one of the gifts of sleep, one of the reasons why evolution preserved it, despite the cost of vulnerability it implies. During sleep, you cannot search for food. You cannot defend yourself from predators. You cannot reproduce or compete for resources. And yet, sleep persisted because it confers benefits that outweigh these costs. During sleep, the body and mind restore themselves in ways that cannot occur during wakefulness. Memories are processed and stored, neural connections are strengthened or pruned, metabolic toxins are removed, the immune system is invigorated, and consciousness, that mysterious flame that characterizes the waking experience, temporarily withdraws, allowing unconscious processes to do their work without interference. Sleep is a daily surrender, a regular practice of letting go of control, of trusting that the body knows what to do, that nature has wisdom embedded in biological systems developed over billions of years of evolution. And the stars, which do not sleep because they are not alive in the biological sense, continue their processes without pause. Nuclear fusion in the core of a star never stops, never rests, continues relentlessly as long as there is fuel, as long as there is hydrogen to be fused into helium, as long as there is helium to be fused into carbon, as long as there is carbon to be fused into heavier elements. It is a process that consumes the star from the inside out, gradually transforming it over millions or billions of years, until eventually the fuel runs out and the star faces its final transformation. But until then, it shines with a constancy that defies human understanding of dedication. No star decides to stop shining because it is tired. No star takes a vacation. They simply are what they are, do what they do, without questioning, without hesitating, without wishing to be something else. And perhaps there is wisdom in this total acceptance of one's own nature, in this absence of internal conflict between what one is and what one should be. You continue sleeping,
And time passes differently in sleep. Minutes may seem like hours in vivid dreams. Hours can pass in an instant in deep sleep. The subjective perception of time is flexible, malleable, dependent on the nonsense for your structure. And during sleep, when consciousness withdraws, time becomes almost meaningless. You're not anxious for the morning. You're not counting the minutes until the alarm rings. You are simply suspended in an eternal present, a now that doesn't advance because there's no one to mark it advancing. And in this state, you experience something close to what the stars experience, if they experience anything at all. An existence without subjective time, without accumulated memories, without anticipation of the future. Just pure, non-reflective presence. A being that doesn't question itself, because there's no distance between being and the experience of being. And when you wake up, that distance will return. You will again be a subject observing objects, a consciousness reflecting on itself, an ego that distinguishes itself from the world. But for now, in deep sleep, those distinctions dissolve. You simply are, without qualification, without elaboration, without need for definition. And out there, through the window, the sky begins its gradual transformation from night to day. The faintest stars disappear first, swallowed by the brightening horizon. Then the brighter ones begin to fade. Familiar constellations lose their definition, as some stars vanish while others still remain visible. And eventually, even the brightest stars surrender to the increasing glow of the approaching sun, Venus perhaps being the last point of light to disappear, the morning star, which isn't really a star but a planet, reflecting sunlight with such intensity that it can be seen even when the day has already begun. And then the sun crosses the horizon, and the sky is transformed. Blue replaces black, warmth replaces cold. The daytime world awakens, with birds singing and insects buzzing, and humans beginning their morning routines. But the stars haven't gone away. They remain there, invisible but present, patiently waiting for the return of night, when they will again reveal themselves to eyes that know how to look, to minds that know how to wonder. You sleep through this transformation, unaware of the gradual shift from darkness to light. Your room slowly brightens as dawn turns into morning, shadows receding, details emerging from obscurity. And still you sleep, because your body still needs rest, because the restoration processes are not yet complete, because sleep has its own wisdom about how much time you need. And perhaps, on some deep level beyond consciousness, you are savoring these last moments of darkness, these last instants of connection with the night, with the stars, with the vastness that is only fully appreciated when the sun sets and the universe reveals itself. Because during the day, it's easy to forget that you live in a cosmos. Immediate worries dominate. The blue sky seems like a ceiling rather than a window. The sun is just a source of light and heat, not a star among billions. And you become terrestrial, focused on the ground beneath your feet, forgetting that you are on a sphere spinning through space at thousands of miles per hour, orbiting a star at over 100,000 miles per hour, moving with the entire solar system through the galaxy at hundreds of thousands of miles per hour, participating in galactic motion through the universe at even greater speeds. You are always traveling through the cosmos at multiple simultaneous speeds, but you don't feel any of it because everything around you is moving along with you. Motion is relative, and from your perspective, you are standing still while the universe moves around you. But at night, when you look at the stars, something of that deeper truth reveals itself. You feel, even if you cannot articulate it, that you are part of something in motion, something dynamic, something that is constantly changing, even when it seems eternally the same. The constellations you see today are slightly different from those your ancestors saw 10,000 years ago, and 10,000 years from now, they will be different again.
Stars move through the galaxy in complex orbits. The Sun completes one revolution around the galactic center approximately every 225 million years, a period called a galactic year. And during that journey, the solar system rises and falls through the galactic disk, passing through denser and less dense regions, encountering different interstellar environments, experiencing different levels of cosmic radiation. And these variations may have subtle effects on Earth, influencing climate, perhaps even influencing rates of evolution through changes in the frequency of mutations caused by radiation. You are a product not only of terrestrial history, but of cosmic history, shaped by events that occurred at scales much larger than the planet, than the solar system, than anything you can directly perceive. And yet, you feel it. When you gaze at the night sky and feel a sense of belonging, of connection, of being home, you are responding to that profound truth. You are not a stranger in the universe. You are a native part of it, a local expression of universal processes, consciousness emerging from matter that emerged from energy that arose at the dawn of time. You continue to sleep as the sun climbs higher in the sky. Its light streams through the window, touches your face, warms your skin. But you don't wake up yet. You are in a deep stage of sleep where external awakening doesn't easily penetrate, where you are shielded from awareness by layers of unconsciousness that serve restorative purposes. And in this deep sleep, perhaps you are having dreams that you won't remember. Fragmented images, nonsensical narratives, emotions without context. The brain during REM sleep is almost as active as during wakefulness, but its activity is disconnected from sensory input, so it generates experiences from memories, desires, fears, random associations. And these dream experiences, however bizarre, serve functions. They process emotions, integrate learning, explore possibilities without the cost of real experimentation. You can fly in dreams, experience the impossible, test scenarios that will never occur while awake. And all this happens in the safety of unconsciousness, where failures have no consequences, where creativity has no limits, where logic doesn't need to be obeyed. And the stars, if they could dream, perhaps they would dream about what will happen when their fuel runs out. Perhaps a massive star would dream about its future explosion into a supernova, about the moment when it will transform from an object of gravity into an expanding cloud, from concentration into dispersion, from a single star into ingredients for millions of future stars. Or perhaps a modest star like the Sun would dream about its future transformation into a red giant, about expanding to engulf its inner planets, about shining with a soft red light for a few million years before expelling its outer layers and retreating into a white dwarf, a stellar corpse that will shine faintly for trillions of years. But stars don't dream. They have no consciousness, no anticipation, no fear of the future, or nostalgia for the past. They exist in an eternal present, governed by physics, not by psychology. And perhaps there is freedom in this simplicity, in this absence of worry. A star never wonders if it is shining correctly, if it is spending its fuel efficiently, if it is fulfilling its purpose. It simply is what it is, does what it does, and that is enough. There is no gap between reality and expectation, between performance and potential. The star is totally itself, without reservations, without internal conflicts. And perhaps in your moments of greatest peace, you also experience something of that completeness. Not through effort, but through surrender. Not by trying to be different, but by accepting what is. Not fighting against reality, but flowing with it. These are the lessons the stars can teach, if you know how to learn from them. Not through words, because they don't speak. Not through actions, because they don't act intentionally. But through simple presence, through existing without apology, through shining with the light that is naturally theirs. And when you wake up, when this sleep finally ends and you return to the world of consciousness and activity, perhaps you carry with you some trace of that stellar wisdom. Perhaps you remember, even vaguely,
that you too are a natural phenomenon, as valid as any star, as necessary as any galaxy, as beautiful as any nebula. Your existence requires no external justification. You don't need to prove your worth. You simply are, and that is enough. It's more than enough. It's extraordinary. Time continues its inexorable march. Minutes turn into hours. The sun traverses the sky in its daily arc, an apparent journey caused by the Earth's rotation, not by the sun's movement. But from the terrestrial perspective, it is the sun that moves. And this geocentric illusion was the dominant view for millennia until careful observations and courageous reasoning revealed the heliocentric truth. The Earth orbits the sun, not the other way around. And this revelation, when it was finally accepted, fundamentally changed human understanding of its place in the universe. We are not at the center. We are not special by location. We are inhabitants of one planet among many, orbiting one star among billions, in one galaxy among trillions. And this realization could have been devastating, could have crushed the human spirit under the weight of cosmic insignificance. But it didn't. Instead, it expanded the human sense of wonder, opened new horizons of investigation, inspired generations to look deeper, to question more boldly, to imagine more broadly. The loss of the central position was compensated by the gain of cosmic perspective, by the understanding of being part of something immensely larger, by the possibility that perhaps, somewhere in that vast universe, other consciousnesses are also looking up, also marveling, also seeking meaning in a cosmos that offers no easy answers. You breathe more deeply now, and something changes in the quality of your sleep. You are beginning to emerge, to slowly climb through the layers of unconsciousness towards the surface of wakefulness. Your dreams, if you were having any, begin to dissolve, leaving only emotional impressions, fragments of images that make no sense when examined, but which carry emotional meaning even without narrative coherence. And gradually, bodily awareness returns. You become vaguely aware of the weight of the blanket, the texture of the pillow, the temperature of the air. Your senses begin to reconnect with the external world, processing information that has been arriving all along, but which was ignored during deep sleep. And with this reconnection comes the return of subjective time, of the feeling that you are moving from one moment to the next, that the past is behind and the future is ahead. The eternal present of deep sleep fragments again into the linear sequence of conscious experience. But for a few more moments, you remain in that liminal state, not yet fully awake, not yet totally in the world. And in this state, you carry with you both realities. The reality of sleep, where you are pure presence without ego, existence without identity, and the reality of approaching wakefulness, where you will again be a person with a name, with a history, with responsibilities and relationships, and all the complexities that come with having a human life. And for these few precious moments, you exist between worlds, belonging fully to neither, touching both, experiencing a fluidity of being that is rarely accessible during full wakefulness or deep sleep. It is a moment of pure possibility, where you have not yet solidified into habitual patterns, where you could still choose to wake up different, see the world different, be different. But gradually, inevitably, the patterns reassert themselves. You remember who you are, where you are, what day it is. The narrative structure of your life reconstructs around your awakening consciousness, contextualizing you, anchoring you in the continuous flow of your personal history. And you open your eyes. The morning light fills the room, soft and golden. The sky beyond the window is blue, cloudless, empty of stars. But you know they are there. You carry that knowledge now with a certainty that requires no visual verification. The stars are always there, shining above the protective layer of the atmosphere, invisible during the day, but no less real. And you wonder how many other people, waking up at this moment in different parts of the world, are also thinking about stars. How many children looked up last night and asked their first questions about the universe? How many scientists are analyzing data from telescopes, discovering new exoplanets, new star systems, new mysteries? How many poets are searching for words to capture the feeling of being small under a vast sky?
How many elderly people approaching the end of their lives are finding comfort in the continuity of the stars, in the way they have witnessed all of human history and will continue to shine long after every human alive today has died? The stars connect you through time and space, through cultures and languages, through all the artificial divisions that humans have created between themselves. Because everyone shares the same sky, everyone looks at the same lights, everyone feels something of the same awe. You sit up slowly, allowing your body to awaken at its own pace. There is no rush. The morning stretches before you with its own possibilities, its own challenges and joys.
But you carry with you something of the night, something of the journey through the stars that you took as you drifted off to sleep. A sense of perspective, perhaps. A reminder that the problems that seemed so urgent yesterday are tiny on the cosmic scale, not because they are unimportant, but because importance is always relative to the scale on which you measure. In your life, your problems are genuinely important. They deserve attention, effort, solution. But on the scale of the universe, they are invisible, and there is comfort in that invisibility, in that reminder that the cosmos is not judging you, is not evaluating your success or failure, is not keeping score.
The universe simply is, and you are a part of it, free to live your life as you see fit, knowing that whatever path you choose, you will still be a part of the cosmic tapestry, still be made of stardust. Share it with someone who might also appreciate a moment of cosmic perspective. Share it with a friend, a family member, a colleague, or even a stranger. Start a conversation about the stars, about the universe, about the mysteries of existence. You never know what connections might be forged, what new understandings might emerge, what shared sense of wonder might blossom. The universe is vast, but it is not lonely. It is full of connections, of relationships, of interactions happening at every scale, from the subatomic to the galactic. And you are part of that network. You are a node in the cosmic web. Your thoughts, your feelings, your actions all ripple outwards, influencing the world around you in ways you may never fully comprehend. So go forth with your star-stuffed heart, with your universe-reflecting mind, with your life that is both infinitesimal and infinite. Embrace the day, embrace the night, embrace the stars, embrace the mystery. You are home. You always have been. You always will be. And as you drift off to sleep tonight, remember the stars. Remember their light, their distance, their age, their composition, their stories. Remember that you are made of the same stuff, that you are connected to them in ways that science is only beginning to understand. And let that thought bring you peace, comfort, and a profound sense of belonging. The night sky awaits. It is always there, patiently shining, waiting for you to look up and remember who you truly are. A child of the universe, a sibling of the stars, a fleeting but precious moment of consciousness in the vastness of eternity. Sleep well, star child, dream deep, and know that you are loved, you are valued, and you are never truly alone. The universe is with you, always. For this experience, leave a comment about what the stars mean to you, about what thoughts this exploration sparked. Like and share so that others can find this space for serene contemplation, this bridge between science and poetry, between knowledge and wonder. The stars shine for everyone,
but not everyone knows how to look at them with the attention they deserve. Perhaps you can be the one who helps someone remember to look up, to pause in the midst of the rush of modern life, to reconnect with the vastness that has always been there, patient and silent, waiting only for a moment of attention to reveal its wonders. The stars thank you in their own silent way for every gaze they receive, because although they are not conscious, although they may not know or care if they are observed, they become more real, more meaningful, more beautiful when witnessed by consciousnesses that know how to appreciate what they are seeing. The universe knows itself through you.
And every time you look up with wonder, every time you allow the immensity of the cosmos to touch something deep within you, you are fulfilling an extraordinary role, a role that no inanimate object can fulfill, no matter how massive or old or bright. You give the universe something it cannot give itself: awareness of its own beauty, appreciation of its own complexity, admiration of its own mystery. Thank you for taking this journey. Thank you for allowing the stars to enter your thoughts, even briefly. Thank you for reading this far, for remaining present throughout this long exploration, for not rushing the process but letting it unfold at its own pace.
And thank you for existing, for being another point of conscious light in a universe that has created physical light in abundance, but consciousness only rarely, making each instance precious beyond measure. You matter. Your life matters. Your moment of connection with the stars matter. And when the night returns, when you look up and see those familiar lights twinkling through the darkness, perhaps you will remember this journey and smile, knowing that you are home, that you have always been home, that the whole universe is your home. And you are, always have been, and always will be, children of the stars.